Welcome to everyone here in person today and everyone visiting on the internet. The Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Lake Norman is an open and inclusive congregation. Our members walk diverse paths to find meaning and purpose, but we are united by our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all and by our responsibility to express our faith through acts of justice and compassion. My name is Jim Price, and I've been an active member of this congregation since 2019, and I'm honored to serve as president of the fellowship this year. Our speaker today is Linda Heydenburg, a fellow member and congregant. She will talk to us today about her story. The title is Growing Up Without a Religious Identity, and she has opening words right now.
I do. Back in the fall, when the budget was being presented, we all have a story. And the budget, they asked us if we would take a Sunday and speak. And that was kind of like a pledge for me to take up when our wonderful minister isn't here. He's here twice in the month. So I decided that I would fill in and help out. And I hope someday to hear from all of you and your story.
Good, very good. Okay, we'll light our chalice. Would you join me in saying our chalice lighting words? It is lit. We light this flaming chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In our search for truth, may we be just. In our search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. And now our story for all ages, Autumn, with a beautiful hat. Don't you love the hat?
Yes. I'm hoping that I am embodying this beautiful spring day. So I'm doing the story for all ages. It's for all of our kids, big and small. So, and it's actually on a really, really important day. We are in spring, but in case you guys didn't know, we are actually, it's a full moon, and the Native Americans call this moon the pink moon because they all have names. But the moon, the lunar calendar, actually indicates the calendar for a lot of religious events. So we just mentioned that there's Passover this weekend, which is a Jewish holiday. We also have Easter, which is a Christian holiday. We have Ramadan, which is the holiday of our Muslim friends. So we have all these different beliefs, and they all have this huge spiritual connection this weekend. And it's kind of interesting because we have these stories of rebels. We have stories of birth and rebirth. There's just amazing, fascinating stories that we can grow and, develop our thoughts. So with the idea of birth and rebirth, we have actually, we were all babies once, weren't we? So as babies, we're born into this world and we don't really have any ideas at all in our heads, right? We don't believe anything. We aren't born as Baptist or Buddhist. We're just born into this world, and we go along and we collect all of these ideas, and we kind of formulate our beliefs from the people that we meet, from television shows, from Sunday school, from our friends at school, from our neighbors. And so we come up with all these ideas, and I'm going to use this bag to kind of represent our beliefs. So in our bag, we might put in all of the things that we've collected, maybe ideas about the comets and the stars we put in the bag, and maybe what's good and what's bad, and what's healthy and unhealthy, and maybe even, beliefs about how we should treat other people. So in our bags, it holds all of our beliefs. And that's really what we define our religions, is kind of defined on what we believe. What do we put in our bag? And so with that, there's different ways to have your bag, right? So some people might really keep it tight. they want to keep all of their beliefs inside this bag, and they want it tight so that all of their beliefs are contained in here, and there's nothing that's going to come out, nothing that's going to go in. Hold on. And this is our beliefs, and it's ours and ours alone, right? And then there's other people, maybe their beliefs are kind of like this, where it's a little messy. And it might be like something we found on the internet, or maybe, a story that we read, or maybe it's a little bit over here and a little bit over there. But it's kind of like sloppy thinking, right? We have the closed-minded people that have their bag tight, and then this is kind of like the sloppy thinkers. And then we have people that maybe they might have their bag like this. Maybe they have their beliefs in their bag, and they think, the golden rule is the golden rule, and we should have peace and happiness in the world. But you know what? My idea is good. Yours is not. It's a shame idea. They might be but we are a little bit different. We are Unitarian Universalists, and we keep our bag open, right? So we can put new ideas in there, and every once in a while we might find an idea isn't really what we wanted, and it doesn't really work for what we got going for us. So we might take one out and chuck it, throw it away, and we can gather around and put some more ideas inside here. So, and also as Unitarian Universalists, we like to hold our bag out, right? So we can look into it from time to time, see what's in there, and see, what's working, what's not working, but also to maybe share some things with other people. And that's really what makes us different, is that we take our ideas and we kind of share them with the world. So that's what makes us a little bit different. So it's not so much what's in your bag that's important, because like I said, there's so many different ideas about how we should do things, or how the comets and the stars came about. So it's not so much what you have in your bag, it's really about being open and sharing it, being a Unitarian Universalist. So, this is a sacred holiday for a lot of people, so I want to say Happy Easter. May your gardens be bountiful and diverse. And what is it? Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan, Murabek. I think I'm saying it right. And then, do we have any Hebrew speakers? Anybody want to help me out? What is it? Yeah. Yeah, no, not shalom. It's, oh gosh. Do you remember it? Do you remember it? I can't remember. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, happy Passover. So I'm going to grab all the kids, and you guys can help sing me out. So that's my story, my brown paper bag story.
Good job.
Oh, and I invite all you guys to visit our table later. So we're still doing our fundraiser for chain-free dogs, and we have cats are in the lead, by the way. So all you dog lovers, yes.
Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. And now Mike Alec will invite us into music and a place of worship and contemplation. Mike.
Normally I play something kind of retrospective and solemn, but I'm going to play something upbeat.
Wow, this is beautiful. Okay, our speaker today is Linda Heydenburg. Linda joined the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Lake Norman in 2015. She is a retired registered nurse. I once told her that she blows every stereotype you've ever heard of New Yorkers. She was a church secretary for 10 years. At Lake Norman, she has been membership chair, has served on the board as treasurer. She shepherds the Movie Tuesday group and does an excellent job with that. And now she is a worship coordinator, and add to that, speaker. The first time she was worship coordinator, she sang, which just sort of blew me away. She has 2 children, a daughter and a family in Huntersville and a son in Clearwater, Florida. And she is married to the inimitable and ineffable Dick Heidenberg. Please welcome Linda Heydenburg. Bring a leg.
I have to keep telling myself that I'm speaking in front of friends and I shouldn't be nervous, but I am. Anyway, I was brought up in a household that didn't go to church. That's why the title of my sermon is whatever it is. Anyway, I lived most of my childhood in Queens, New York City. My paternal grandparents lived upstairs in a 2-family house, and we would live downstairs. My father's parents never went to church either. My mother was brought up Catholic, but left after her confirmation. My maternal grandparents eventually became Episcopal. So that's my religious background, more or less, family-wise. Growing up on Sunday mornings, sometimes we would listen to the Ethical Culture Society on the radio on WQXR in New York City. Ethical Culture is a non-theist humanist community dedicated to ethical relationships, social justice, and environmental stewardship since 1876. According to their website, we celebrate life's joys, support each other through life's challenges, and work together to build a more just world. Reminds me of Unitarian Universalism. So I had a pretty good background after all. We never went to their building in Manhattan. If we did, I might have had an identity when my friends asked me, "What's your religion?" I always hated that question. Did I need an identity? I thought I needed an answer to that question, and sometimes I would just make up something and hope that that person didn't probe me further, like, where is it? Or, anything like that. Fortunately, I got away with it. My best friend was Catholic and prayed for me most. Most of my kids on the block where I lived in Queens were Catholic. Does listening on the radio make you an ethical culture person? It might have been a real awesome to go to visit this place where Algernon Black was the speaker. He was awesome. But that was in Manhattan, and we were in Queens. I believe those Sunday mornings were my non-religious classes that formed my basic non-religious life. When I was engaged, I started going to a Presbyterian church with my friend Karen, so I would have church to be married in. Don't you need a church to be married in? I didn't know what the alternatives were, actually. My fiance was Lutheran, but he didn't live locally. So we were married in my friend's Presbyterian church by Reverend Williams. When we moved upstate to Monticello, New York, my husband felt he needed a church. We first found a Methodist church where both our babies were baptized. Besides having baptized our kids, we found very little connections with the people. At this time, I was teaching Lamaze natural childbirth, and one of my couples said, "Why don't you come to our church where the minister and choir director write original songs?" Sounded good. That's where we ended up, in a wonderful liberal Presbyterian church in Port Jervis, about 30 miles from us. The minister and choir director were partners in a church music publishing company. Avery and Marsh wrote their own music and traveled around the country and sometimes the world doing workshops for their church music. Their music was not the old hymns, which I found boring. We will be singing one of their songs later. They were more than publishing partners. They lived together. But they could never come out, as our minister would lose his job or at least cause a crisis within our church. Most of the congregation either silently accepted them, didn't see them as a problem, or just didn't care. They were with us for 40 years until they retired. They were loved by all, and we felt so blessed to have their innovative services. I once asked a friend in this church how they felt about the minister and choir master living together. "Well, they might be gay, but they are probably celibate," was their answer. I loved them both, didn't care, and we were good friends. When they retired to New Mexico, they finally came out, and at Reverend Dick Avery's funeral, the minister said how sad it was that he had to live most of his life somewhat secretly. In 2010, I looked all this up. In 2010, the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church approved an amendment in 2010. They retired in 2000 or whatever, 2000, whatever year that is. Anyway, in 2010, the Presbyterian General Assembly approved an amendment that allowed ordination of openly gay LGBTQ ministers at the discretion of the individual presbyteries and sessions, essentially allowing each congregation to decide. In 2014, the General Assembly passed a measure that permits ministers and local church governments to use their own judgment to conduct same-sex marriages, 2014. So basically, it depends on the individual church. Less than 10 miles from my Presbyterian church in New York, across the Delaware River in Pennsylvania, was another Presbyterian church that held meetings to help gay people become straight. So it really depends on the church and the leadership. I always felt like I was living a church lie. Although I went to this church for 30 years, I was never convinced of any of the doctrine. But I liked Avery and Marsh, and I liked the people. I didn't have the heart to tell our minister that I didn't believe. I thought it would be an insult to him that he didn't do his job. When he retired, I was offered the job of church secretary, which I kept for 10 years. I think I held our place together in his absence and helped the ministers that followed. They had tough shoes to follow. Interesting that my first husband, who was a believer, left the church when we were divorced, and I stayed. Dick Heydenburg and I were married in that church by Avery and Marsh. About church identity, a few years ago when I was having surgery, the admitting lady asked me my religion. People always ask you your religion. I guess they want you to know if you die, who should come in and pray over you. My gut reaction was none. And then I remembered, oh no, I'm a Unitarian Universalist. Yay, I have an answer. We even had a little discussion about it. When my father was in the hospital at age 90, and I was there, the nurse came in and asked him the same question. And he proudly said, "I'm a heathen." Wow, I could not have done that. And I bet she never got that answer before, but she didn't react or anything, but he was proud of it. Anyway, since today is Easter, I thought I might add an Easter story. Since all my neighborhood friends growing up were Catholic, we would dress up and my family would go out to dinner at my grandfather's country club on Long Island. Only much later, 20 years later or so, did I learn that this was a restricted golf club. But the joke was on them because they had a whole family of agnostics and atheists sitting at the dinner table. When I told my friend Diane this story, she said, "At least the club didn't burn down." I don't know how my grandfather filled out the application or if there was a question on religion, but my grandfather was certainly not a religious man, never went to church, but I never heard him say anything derogatory about anybody either. Same thing goes for my parents. My grandfather was a very good golfer. He got a hole-in-one once, and we got a year of Wheaties, breakfast of champions, as a reward. We followed Christian culture, if not beliefs. Easter was tradition, big hats, like Autumn's wonderful hat, big hats, dyeing eggs, and chocolate Easter bunnies. And I brought my picture, and it's out there, and I hope some of you brought some pictures too of your old Easter hats. Anyway, we'll look at them later. When Dick and I moved to North Carolina, the only people we knew were my daughter and her family. We needed other connections. I wasn't going to look for a Christian church. I searched the ethical culture and found nothing. Around here anyway. Then I looked for Unitarian. I thought I might be able to fit in a Unitarian church. The website said there were atheists, agnostics, Buddhists, Christians, Jews, pagans, etc. Sounded good to me. My favorite UU joke is, why are Unitarians so bad at singing hymns? Because they are reading ahead one line to see if they agree with it. Yeah. I did that in the Presbyterian church. So we came to UU of Lake Norman. I felt immediately welcomed, greeted and hugged by Marge Flowers and others. I now feel like I have 37 friends I can be honest with. Thank you, UU Fellowship, for your liberal views and acceptance. So that is my church story, short and brief. I'd like to hear yours someday as see yours. Thank you.
Most of you probably know this song. I've been hanging, thinking about the good things to come, and I believe it. So good has been. I've been smiling, dreaming about the world that's warm, and I believe it. So good has been. We are on the edge of darkness. The rise of peace train. Please pray to take this country completely hurt. Oh, I can't handle it. Feeling about the good things to come, and I believe it. Some good has come. The peace train sat on the valley, down on the peace train. Move on, come on the peace train. Peace train, hold the doors. We will jump on the peace train. You are here, come on the peace train. Get your bags together. We'll bring a different seat. Cause it's getting real. So we will be. Come and join a little. It's not so far from you. And it's getting real. So Street sound louder, right on the street. Ooh, ah, yeah, ooh, ah, on the street. I've been crying, thinking about the world as it is. What must we go on me to? What is the difference? Out on the edge, they're about to be shown. These trains in this country, I'm getting home again. Streets sound louder, louder on the street. Ooh, ah, yeah, ooh, ah. Jump on the train, hey, it's the train.
Thank you, Linda. It's wonderful. Now we know how she got to be so wonderful. Some of it. And thank you, Mike and Eddie. Excellent, excellent, excellent. This fellowship is important to us all. The contributions we make today allow us to sustain and grow our congregation and to reach out to the bigger community, both nearby and larger world. Your giving affirms our commitment to each other and to the community. Oh, it was good.
It was short.
It was good. It was very good. Perfect. Yeah. With grateful hearts, we receive these gifts. May they encourage us to live lives of integrity, compassion, and peace. There are several announcements in your order of service. The auction fundraiser will be June 11th at the Bailey's Glen Clubhouse. There's information in the newsletter and also in the vestibule. We need items, events to auction, and we'll need all the participation we can get. It will be a lot of fun, and will do a lot of good for the financial help of our fellowship. In addition to the afternoon children's program, Autumn is continuing to do a Zoom service at 9:30 in the morning, and she's going to continue that right up until the time that we shut down for the summer. Speaking of that, the board voted last week for the fellowship to take a summer vacation break, with the last service of the summer being June 26th, and we will start back with batteries fully charged on August 14th. That's 6 weeks. We will begin meeting again before school starts, which is important, and also before the Labor Day holiday. The next dog fence build for the Heart of the Carolinas UU Animal Ministry is April 23rd. That's next week. Every Friday morning at 11 o'clock is an opportunity to join a Zoom session with UUs around the nation to talk about service projects ideas. A Zoom link to join is in the newsletter. I know Autumn participates in that, and I think Tracy does some. I won't put you on the spot, though. Friday, April 22nd, that's next week, is the 52nd anniversary of Earth Day. There will be a Zoom service celebration for UUs at 7 p.m. The link is also in the newsletter. And speaking of the newsletter, what a great job Regina does. Thank her. Don't forget, don't forget to stop by the donation station the children have in the lobby where you can vote for your favorite animal. Proceeds will go to free dogs from their chains. Ironically, currently, cats have the most votes. So I voted for dogs today, but anyway, but we love them all. You can read about Movie Tuesdays in the book club and the newsletter. There's a lot going on with us, and we love it. Our closing song today is "We Are the Church."
Say something about it.
No,
I want to say something about this song. This is probably Avery and Marsh's #1 hit. It made it into the Methodist hymnal. Whenever I go to some church for a funeral or something, I always look at the hymnals to see if they're in there, and they are in the Methodist hymnal. So we're going to sing. And the church, you are the church.
maybe not.
We are the church together. All the Unitarians all around the world. Yes, we're the church together. The church is not a building. The church is not a steeple. The church is a resting place. The church is its people. We are the church. You are the church. We are the church together. All us Unitarians all around the world. Yes, we're the church together. For many kinds of people with many kinds of faces, all colors and all ages, from all times and places. I am the church. You are the church. We are the church together. All us Unitarians all around the world. Yes, we're the church together. Sometimes the church is marching, sometimes it's bravely burning, sometimes it's riding, sometimes hiding, always it's learning. I am the church. You are the church. We are the church together. All us Unitarians all around the world. Yes, we're the church together. When the people gather, they're singing and there's praying, there's laughing and there's crying, sometimes all saying, I am the church. You are the church. We are the church together. All us Unitarians all around the world. Yes, we're the church together. Yes, we're the church together. I forgot to tell them the point.
Very good. Our closing words today are our seventh principle. We respect the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And now I will extinguish the chalice. I will try. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Namaste. Very good job. Good job, Mike.